Hi, I'm Bonnie Barker with BonnieBabeCrochet.com, and you've come to video number 4, square number 4, in the Aran Sampler Mystery Throw. For this particular square, I'm going to be using Red Heart with Love. It's, again, worsted weight yarn, and this color is Berry Red. Just in case you are following along with exactly what I'm doing, there is no, you don't have to do that. As I've said before, you're free to choose any worsted weight yarn you would like. I will, however, recommend that when you choose your worsted weight yarns, whether it be from your stash or from the store, that you choose yarns that feel the similar way and are the similar thickness. Even within the number 4 worsted weight category, there is quite a variety of thicknesses. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm still using my size J or 10 or 6.00 millimeter crochet hook, and for the perimeter round I'm also going to be using the size I or 9 or 5.50 millimeters. Okay, let's go ahead and begin. Just like the other squares, we're going to start with the slip knot, and we are going to start with our chain of 46 chains. So go ahead and chain 46. After completing our chain of 46 chains, we're going to begin our row of half double crochets. Again, this is just like in the other squares. We're going to start in the 3rd chain from the hook and go ahead and half double crochet in that chain and in each chain across. After completing the row of half double crochet, this is what you should have. Okay, now we're going to turn. We're going to chain 2, and we're going to only half double crochet in one stitch in the first half double crochet of this row. The stitch that we're going to be learning is called the braided cable. It is crocheted with a multiple of 6 plus 2. The plus 2 would be 1 for the stitch at the beginning and 1 for the stitch at the end. So let's go ahead and begin that. We're going to start with front post treble crochets. We're going to skip the first or the next 2 stitches, and we're going to front post treble in the next 2 stitches. Remember those post stitches? You just bring your hook around the back and out the side, and then complete your treble as you normally would. Now after that, we're working in front of these last 2 stitches just crocheted. We're going to front post treble crochet in the 2 stitches that we skipped. That would be 1, and the other one is right here, 2. And now we're going to front post treble in the next 2 stitches. These would be the 5th and 6th stitches of this braid. It doesn't look like much of a braid yet, but this is the foundation row for doing this stitch. Okay, so you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we're going to do another braid. Skip 2, front post treble crochet in the next 2 stitches, working in front of the last 2 stitches just made, front post treble crochet in those 2 skipped stitches. And after we do that, just front post treble in the next 2 stitches without skipping. Okay, let's stop and see. So that's actually the foundation for 2 braided cables. So we're going to go ahead and work these all the way across. I will work one more with you. Skip 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches, working in front of the last 2 stitches, front post treble in the 2 skipped stitches. So this is a lot easier than the honeycomb and in the wheat, in that we don't have to work behind, do front post stitches behind anything. It's all going to be crossing in front, and then front post treble in the next 2 stitches. Okay, I'll go ahead and do that across, and you should actually have 7 foundations for the braided cable. Now that we've worked the braided cable all the way across, we have one stitch left. That's that one half double crochet. So go ahead and work a half double crochet, working through the top loops of that last stitch. Let's take a look. This is what it should look like, and it does not look like much of a braid yet, but after the next 2 rows or so, that will soon change. Go ahead and turn, chain 2, half double crochet in that first half double crochet. Now we're going to do the same thing that we did in row 2, but we're going to use back post treble crochets. We're going to skip 2 stitches, and we're going to back post in the next 2 stitches. These would be the stitches that are kind of slanting towards you. So back post treble in each of those stitches. Now working in front of these stitches as seen from the front side. So we're not having to dig for any stitches or post. So we're just I'm going to flip it back like this, and you simply grab it from the back side, and we try that one again, back post treble crochet. So I flip it up, and you should see that just nice and clearly there. And then we're going to back post treble in the next 2 stitches, which are these 2 stitches. You can feel them. Use your tall man and thumbkin here to find those stitches. If you can't, having a hard time seeing them, you should be able to feel them quite easily with your yarn hold hand or your non-dominant hand. Okay, so let's do that one again. This is a little trickier, understandably, but if we take our piece and we flip it up, we're going to skip these 2 stitches, and then the 2 stitches that are slanted, we're going to start there, back post treble crochet in the next 2, and then working in front of these 2 as seen from the back side, we bring our hook around, okay, and we back post treble. That's the second time that's happened. Let me try that one again. We're going to back post treble in those 2 stitches that we just skipped. And then we back post treble in the next 2 available stitches, which happen to be these 2. They should be leaning toward your non-dominant hand there. Okay, I'm going to just show that to you one more time. Let's do the next one. And as you do these back post stitches, remember that each braid has 6 stitches in it. So you should be completing 6 stitches. It'd be real easy to leave out a couple stitches. And in that event, once you flip it to the other side, let me show you the other side. You can see how these are starting to braid a bit. If you look to the other side, you will see a shortage of stitches. And if that's the case, you're going to want to go back and fix that. So I'm going to do one more for you. Skip 2, back post treble crochet in the next 2 stitches, working in front of these stitches as seen from the front side. Let's go ahead and flip it up, and these are the stitches right here. I can feel them with my thumb. Use your thumb and thumbkin and tall man to help you to find these stitches. Once you understand and get some muscle memory built up for this stitch, which you probably will after doing 4 squares, you'll be able to sit and do this stitch in the dark because you can feel the stitches that well. It does take time. For those of you who've never done cabling of any kind before, thanks for sticking with me. I know it can be a little frustrating. I know I said I was going to do 3, but I'm going to do 1 more. Go ahead, skip 2, back post treble crochet in the next 2 stitches, working in front of these as seen from the front side, back post treble in the 2 stitches that you skipped, and then back post treble in the next 2 stitches. I'm going to go ahead and finish this row, and then I'll show you the last stitch of the row. At the end of row 3, we work a half double crochet in that last stitch, which is a half double crochet. We're going to turn, and now with the front side facing, we're going to begin row number 4, and we're going to chain 2. The even rows of this square are going to have the front side facing, and row 4 is actually going to be the first repeat of row number 2. So we're going to half double crochet in that first stitch, which is a half double crochet, skip 2 just like we did for row 2, front post treble in the next 2 stitches, working in front of the last 2 stitches just worked, and you see how these kind of all connect up to be woven back and forth. We're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that we just skipped. And I think you're going to see more of the braided effect once you begin row number 4. Now we're going to front post treble in the next 2 stitches, which are right here. You may have to kind of, again, use your Mr. Tallman and Thumbkin to kind of, find these stitches, but they're right there for the find. And that would complete, okay, the first braid. You can see it's starting to be having that braided effect. Okay, let's do another. Skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches. Okay, now working in front of the last 2 stitches we just made, we're going to front post treble in the 2 skip stitches. And this particular stitch is, very open, very easy to find, or at least I believe they're pretty easy to find the stitches that you need. Okay, now we just front post treble in the next 2 stitches. Now when you do stitch number 5 and 6 in each of these braids, you're not skipping any stitches. They're just the very next stitches that come along. Okay, so I'm going to show you one more time. Skip 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2, working in front of the last 2 stitches, front post treble in those 2 skip stitches. Okay, now just front post treble in the next 2 stitches. Sometimes these tend to hide a little bit, but they are there for the taking. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this all the way across the row. Just like in row 2, row 4, we're going to end with a half double crochet in that last stitch. Okay, so this is what we should have at the end of 4 rows. Okay, row 5, I'm going to go ahead, chain 2, turn, chain 2, whichever. Half double crochet in the first stitch, and just like we did with row number 3, we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, back post double crochet in the next 2, and remember you can find them by simply tilting it up and looking at the back side. Now we're going to front post double crochet, let me try that again, back post double crochet in the next 2 stitches, and we're going to cross in front of the stitches as seen from the front. Okay, so we actually have to kind of cross in front, and we find those 2 stitches that we skipped. For some reason my hook doesn't like to pull in that last loop over. Okay, there we go again. Let me try that one again. Hope that makes you feel better. If you have trouble with some of these, I do too once in a while. So once in a while they get away from me. All right, and then back post treble in the next 2 stitches. I'm going to do that one more time for you. Again, this is the same as row 3, but I'm showing you row number 5, which is the first repeat of row 3. Skip the next 2 stitches and back post treble crochet in the next 2 stitches. These would be the stitches leaning slightly, and working in front of these 2 stitches as seen from the front, we're going to back post treble in the 2 stitches that we just skipped. And then back post treble and the next 2 stitches. Remember, we're not skipping any stitches to do stitch number 5 and 6 in each braided cable. So this is what it should look like from the back. I'm going to go ahead and turn and show you how it is looking much more like a braid from the front. So I'm going to go ahead and finish row 5, and then I will show you how to end this. Once you get to the end of the row, half double crochet in that last stitch. Okay, now that we've worked 5 rows, I wanted to give you some instructions as to how to do this from here. This pattern is maintained by repeating rows 2 and 3. Okay, it is easier, I believe, to count these rows by looking at the half double crochets at the end of the row. Otherwise it gets really confusing. Okay, so what we're going to do is we've already done our foundation row, which is the half double crochets, and then we've done row 2, which was the first row we began crossing the cables, and then row 3. Now from here on, we're just going to repeat row 2 and row 3, row 2 and row 3 all the way. We're going to have a total, if you count the very first repeat, or the very first row 2 and then row 3, we're going to have a total of 9 sets of those. Or another way of saying it is continue to repeat rows 2 and 3 until you have a total of 19 rows altogether. I'm including this foundation row with that number 19. So until you can count 19 rows using the half double crochets on the end. Once you reach that number, we're going to do row 20. I'm going to have you go ahead and do that one as well, and that's just another repeat of row 2. So after that, you should have a total of 20 rows, and when you end that row, the back side should be facing. Okay? All right. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll do the last row together. Okay, I have completed working 20 rows, and this is the way my square should look. Okay, I just finished working the last row, the last row of the braided cabling, which is row 20 all the way across. And if you need to double check, you can check by counting these rows. Make sure that you have 20 rows all the way across. And as you could remember, there are fewer rows of the braided cable than the other stitches that we worked in the first 3. Yeah, that's right, the first 3 squares so far. And the reason for that is these rows are all made up of treble crochets, which tends to, have more height to it. So in order to keep this square, we had to work fewer rows. But don't worry about that. We're still going to have the same number of stitches across. And as long as we work the correct number of stitches along the side, the squares will be the same, and we'll be able to crochet into our work just as well. Okay, for the last row for the square, for the row 21, we're going to chain 2, and this is going to be like a row to discontinue the basket weave, and it will kind of make it more even with the foundation. Okay, we're going to half double crochet in that first stitch, and all the way across we're going to work back post double crochet. So go ahead, we're not crossing anything, we're just working straight across, kind of like we did with the row that followed the 4-post cable or the honeycomb cable. Just like that, we're just going to work back post double crochet all the way across. So go ahead and finish that row. After working those back post double crochets all the way across, we work a half double crochet, working through the top loops of that last stitch of the round, or the row rather. Okay, now I'm ready to turn, and you can see how that row kind of nicely ends the basket weave. And so the next thing I'm going to do is the perimeter round. In order to get ready for that, don't forget to change your hook. If you don't do that, the stitches tend to be a little bulky and a little ripply and probably won't lie flat very well. I'm going to go ahead and chain 1, and I'm going to single crochet. We're working through the top loops. Single crochet all the way across to the first corner. Okay, I finished working all the way across, and I worked my last single crochet at the top of the half double crochet. I'm not working in the turning chain, at least not just yet. You will have 44 stitches all the way across. That's very important that we have the same number so that these squares will connect in with the other squares we've already completed. I'm going to chain 2, turn your work 90 degrees, and I'm going to work in the same place as the last single crochet. Okay, work your first single crochet there, and then we're going to work 44 stitches evenly across. Now you're going to have 21 rows to work across. So if you put 2 in each, that gives you 42, but you're going to have to add one extra, actually 2 stitches in along there, if that helps you at all. So it's an average of 2 stitches per row end, and you're going to need to sneak an extra one in here or there. So don't forget, and that this first single crochet that we worked in the corner and the last single crochet that we're going to work in the foundation chain here does count in that number 44. Okay, so go ahead and work those 44 stitches evenly across the row ends. Okay, after working 44 stitches all the way across to that corner, chain 2, turn 90 degrees, work my first single crochet in the same place as the last. Now I'm going to skip the next one because I've worked in this corner. This one's going to replace this stitch. This is just an attempt to maintain 44 stitches evenly across. So now I can just go ahead and single crochet in the remainder of that foundation chain. Again, if you have a hard time seeing where to put your hook, find where the stitch from the first row was, and then just go opposite that, and your hook should slip right in the remaining part of that foundation chain, and it will be covered up. So go ahead and work that across, and then when you get to the end, chain 2, turn 90 degrees, and work your way up and complete. After you do another corner just the way I showed you, and then work your other 44 stitches along the other side, and I will show you how to connect to the first stitch of the round. Okay, I worked my last stitch along the other side of the row ends in the same place as where the first single crochet was made of the perimeter round. Chain 2, and then I'm going to single crochet through the top loops of that first stitch and pull it through, give it a chain, give it a tug, and I'm going to go ahead and cut a nice long strand so it would be easier to weave in the end. And our square is done with the perimeter round. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and get my contrasting color and add one more round. Okay, using my smaller hook, continuing to do that, I'm going to join my yarn in a different place from where I just fastened off. That way it just keeps the yarn from bulking up too much with the color changes. Okay, so I'm going to do a little chain slip stitch there, single crochet in the chain 2 space, and just a reminder, we're going to have 46 stitches across each side as we do this perimeter round, because we are adding a single crochet on each end, so that adds 2 to our stitch count. So 46 single crochets all the way across, and we just continue to do what we did with the first perimeter round, except it is much easier since we already have the established single crochets to work in, so we're not having to evenly work anything. So just make sure that you are working one single crochet in each stitch, and as you can see, I'm crocheting over, well, maybe you can't see, there you go, I'm crocheting over this extra strand to kind of hide it as I go. So go ahead and finish this perimeter round, 46 stitches on each side, chain 2s as you turn 90 degrees at each corner. And just to show you the final join, I've worked my last single crochet in the same place where we worked the first of the perimeter round. I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to slip stitch through the top loops of that first single crochet, give it a chain, give it a tug, and leave a generous strand. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this square, number 4, the braided cable. And I look forward to hearing from you, how you all are doing with this. Feel free to post your pictures on my Bonnie Bay Crochet Facebook page anytime. I'll be, putting post up there to prompt just that, and looking forward to seeing your work. God bless. Bye-bye.